Welcome to another episode of the M&A Mastermind Podcast, your go-to source for the latest in industry trends and strategies to help you level up your M&A practice. I am your host, Nick Olson, Managing Director of Cornerstone International Alliance, the only international alliance of M&A firms who focus on the lower middle market. Here we bring in masterminds who are experienced, knowledgeable, and gracious enough to share how they have succeeded in the world of M&A. I'm very excited about today's guest and honored to have him on today. He is the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Grata. He founded the company in 2016 with his Harvard classmate, which means, yes, he also graduated from Harvard, cum laude as well. So we got a very smart individual on the show today. He's a self-taught programmer. In his free time, he enjoys DJing and playing soccer. Please help me in welcoming our guest today, Nevin Raj. Nevin, thank you so much for joining today.
Nick, thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
So what kind of music we talking about when you're DJing?
Oh, it's been a couple of years. I've been very busy the last couple of years, but I used to do tropical house.
Okay, awesome. That's funny. That's a great hobby to have. Like I said, you got to work on the real job, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty niche genre, but I got deep into it.
All right. So, like I said in the introduction, you co-founded Grata. Tell us all about Grata and why you thought there was a need to create this platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I come from a management consulting and private equity background, and I had experienced a lot of these problems myself firsthand, mainly around private company information and private company identification. And what I had seen that got especially, and this is back when we started the companies back in 2016, and our formation years are 2016 to 2020. But we just saw there's just more capital flowing into private markets. And that means more LPs allocating here, more corporates trying to acquire, your hedge funds going crossover, your VCs starting to do middle market deals. And when there was more competition, we saw that there was just a greater need for software and intelligence and data to be more competitive in the space, specifically around better deal origination and business development, because it became hard when you have a higher supply of capital to really find good deals. And there seemed to be a scarcity of good deals. And we know those companies are out there, but you just need an ability to find them and know that they exist. So that's kind of what we saw as one of the big problems coming up in the market from a market dynamics perspective. There's a lot more that went into building Grata, but that trend really tipped us off to, hey, this is going to be a big problem that needs to be solved over the next few years. And especially with, boomers coming of age and a lot of businesses turning over, it's just going to become even more of a need over the next decade.
I heard a stat yesterday. The youngest or the youngest age of baby boomers right now is 60, I believe. So there's a lot of businesses that are going to come up for sale. Like you said, a lot of good businesses and hopefully, the $1 million question, right? How can you find a business owner when they're ready to sell?
Yep.
And if we can arm ourselves with tools to be able to better do that, like a platform like yours and Grata, obviously as M&A advisors and investment bankers, that's huge for us. So beyond, deal sourcing, not beyond it, but, what's your pitch to M&A advisors or M&A firms as to, beyond what you just said, as to why they should be leveraging and using a platform like Grata, and how's that going to help their practice?
Yeah, just to parlay off that point you just brought up with boomers, our stat says there are about $14 trillion of boomer businesses that are going to turn over in the next decade plus, and there's about 4 trillion of dry powder out there, which means there's more to come. There's probably 3-4x to come here. And the challenge that we had seen, and kind of why Grata helps M&A advisors and really M&A firms, is you have to find great businesses, and it doesn't really help to find the business at the moment they're ready to transact. The moment they go and list on a site and they're ready to transact, they know who they want to work with. They've had relationships. They know firms. That might seem like a great opportunity, but oftentimes you're actually spinning wheels in a conversation, probably to create competitive dynamics on fees. So what we realized was that the winners were building relationships over the long term, spotting companies in a space they know well, where they had done a lot of deals, where they have, on the flip side, buyer and sponsor relationships. And we built Grata to really be a data enabled workflow platform to facilitate that long term relationship building by the identification of the right companies up front. And so we have this belief that it's not just better data and better information, but it's better workflows that integrate with your own internal knowledge, your own internal systems that create a better outcome. So we built Grata around those principles, and we really think about things in the long term of the deals, the people you meet today are going to be deals in the next 1 to 5 years. And if Grata can help you build those relationships and find those right companies, then we're going to help you be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said, perfectly. And to clarify, yeah, obviously, you want that runway to work with a business owner, obviously, to make sure that they're ready, and give them and you time to get them ready to maximize the opportunity there, because it's going to, most cases, be the biggest financial transaction of their lives. And it's a lot of times, especially with the big amount of baby boomers we have right now, it's probably going to be retirement. And so you spot on. You got to have the time to develop those relationships, nurture them, build that trust and rapport, in an effort to be that trusted advisor for them, which, like I said, takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because our users are advisors, and advisors are also talking to us. And there's oftentimes a duality in those conversations. But we find that the most effective ones that impress us are the ones that know our space well, can point out relevant deals, and really come to the table adding value. And that's another component, I think, and another layer to this of, to build relationships, it starts with a mutual adding of value. What introductions can you make? What information can you tell me about my space that I may not know? And so we find that to be another effective way of facilitating what could be in the future. Again, it could be 1, 2, 3 years out, a potential deal.
Mm-hmm. So you talk about workflows and data and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, those are things that you guys focus on, and why M&A advisors should be using your platform. What are some other features, and just so we can let our listeners know a little bit more in depth about Grata and its capabilities?
Yeah, I think it comes down. There are 3 categories I put the main features in. One is really around search, and we use that term quite broadly. But what we mean by that is the identification of the right companies. So we built the whole technology. Even about more than a third of our engineering team just works on this alone, and that can be 2 flavors. One is you need to search for and find the right buyers for a deal you're bringing to market. And that can be a pretty challenging task because maybe you know a handful who've transacted in the space, but who else is transacting in adjacent spaces? Who are the strategics that are doing deals that could buy your client? What's a new idea? Maybe your client's in one space and you want to find a strategic in an adjacent space. We focus a lot on that search and that buyer identification piece and investor identification. That's also coupled with the searching for new potential clients to originate a deal. It's the same technology, and instead of applying it to a set of investors or strategic acquirers, you apply it to lower middle market companies. And the search that we've developed, a lot of times you have to come with an idea. You can come with a general industry or category, and you're going to get millions of companies. But we find that the most successful using Grata have a thesis, a theme, an angle, an idea that gives them differentiated results. And what's really interesting too, we run the stats every month. We ask our product team to pull the number of profiles viewed in the platform and how many of those profiles are common, like everyone's viewing, versus unique to that account. And I find this fact startling, but 70% of profiles viewed in Grata are unique to that firm. Meaning, if you really know how to use search well and you're crafting intelligent and nuanced searches, most of the companies you engage with, no one else who's using Grata is engaging with. And I find that really interesting and really powerful because it it's an indicator of part of our mission, which is to make the middle market more accessible. And these companies probably wouldn't have been found had they not been on Grata and had they not been found on Grata, had they been part of that 30% or so that everyone's talking to and everyone's pursuing. So I think that's one. It's search. The second one,
That's, I was going to say, that is an amazing stat, 70%. So I think, draw some parallel to that. I mean, if you do understand how to search, and I would love to ask your take on what do you think, what are some key components of a, kind of a thesis or a good way to go about searching? But if you are doing it that way, you're going to kind of be the one and only, or one of very few that are reaching out.
Yeah, I'll give and I can give a couple of examples just to bring that to light. Think about
That'd be great.
a lot of M&A is happening in home services. Let's just take HVAC, for example. And HVAC, if you just type in HVAC, you're going to get a couple 100,000 companies. Now, the searches that are really unique go into, well, what type of HVAC is going to be a healthier business for a financial sponsor? Something with more of recurring or reoccurring revenue. The customer base is more stable. And you have some firms looking for HVAC that serves local municipalities and that do maintenance more so than installation, because they know that installation is quite lumpy. It's with new builds and replacements, but maintenance is ongoing. And governments have stable contracts. And they may look at commercial, and others say, well, we don't want customer concentration risk. So we want to find residential HVAC, and we want ones that have relationships with certain manufacturers and their licensed distributors, because there are barriers to entry. I give you 5-6 different ways right now to cut up one market and find unique deals and unique companies. Now, if you build a specialty and you say, I'm an advisor who understands commercial HVAC really well because I understand the deals in the space, the dynamics, what the strategics like in a business, you've built up expertise. You can find those right companies. You've then created a match in terms of you being the optimal advisor for that client to originate that deal. That's just a simple example. Hopefully most people can follow.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great example. Obviously very relevant.
Yeah, and I was going to get into some of the other pillars as well. So one is search. That's what we do. The second one comes down to the quality of information, because the middle market is really opaque. And what people tend to do is they tend to go website by website, or they tend to go to LinkedIn, and you're sitting with either really distributed information that you have to synthesize and put together, or just a lack of information. And what we've done on that side of things is we have a second engineering team that works on data, and they just focus on data all day. And part of it is the automated processing of those websites and the reading of that information to synthesize a profile. But the other is going into very distributed, hard to find, hard to come about proprietary data sets, and merging that with our data to make a synthesis of what's right. Again, going back to the HVAC example, you see LinkedIn, you see 3 employees. You're like, this is a tiny company. But think about that. How many HVAC technicians have a LinkedIn profile? Probably not many. Yeah, maybe the office, maybe the CEO, maybe the if they have an office and they're working in marketing, but most HVAC technicians do not have a LinkedIn profile. And therefore you're missing a lot of data. But there are other ways. There are government data sets. There are other places to get information to get you a more accurate view of the space. And so we provide a lot of that information to get more transparency into the lower middle market. So a lot of it comes down to, can you find the company, but are you getting quality information about that company to make an assessment about them? And it's challenging because the data is always quote unquote wrong because it's private information and no one knows the truth. Sometimes even the company themselves, you talk to the CEO and the CFO and they tell you different things about their revenue numbers. I always find that amusing, but the point here is like, information is always going to be opaque. It's always going to be outside in. But if you can make the smartest assessment of that information, you're more likely to get a better outcome for your client, for your deal.
Absolutely.
And then
was there a third pillar?
Yeah, the third pillar is integrated workflows. There are a lot of things you do as an M&A advisor. You are nurturing your relationships. You're going to conferences and trade shows. You're talking to sponsors and strategics about what they want to buy. Maybe you're on a buy side mandate, you have a sell side mandate. You're working with lawyers, accountants. Yeah, you can keep naming these different workflows, and there's a different spot for each of these typically. You may have your
Mhm.
phone book, your CRM for your relationships. You may sign up for conferences and they email you a PDF and they send you to an app. And again, maybe you have like your 5 lawyers you work with. Those are challenges because you're sitting in 5 different places and there could be synergies from them together. We integrate those workflows, and we spent a lot of time over the last couple of years ensuring that the connection between those different flows are really seamless. You find a target and a potential deal to originate. You want to find the right buyer. You want to then see if you have relationships with any of those buyers. You then want to see if those buyers are going to a conference you're attending in the next 3 months. You can do that all in one spot. And that creates a lot of time efficiency. But beyond time, it increases your chances of winning the deal, winning the mandate. And so we spent a lot of time with that at Grata, and we think about that all day because we know that the job is hard. I was investment banking many, many years ago, and we know the 90, 100-hour work weeks. And even shaving off a few hours, 5, 10 hours from that just frees you up to do so much more.
Mhm. Absolutely. And then, all encompassing and, the topic of what it seems like everybody's talking about right now is AI and artificial intelligence, obviously. And, I think that's one of the things that drew me to you guys is your implementation of AI into your platform. And, so I want to get into how you guys are leveraging AI, but, just in general, what are you hearing, seeing from the M&A investment banking world as to, how AI is impacting us, and what are some things that we need to maybe know or think about as this becomes, more of a thing, if it can get to be more of a thing than it already is.
Yeah, so kind of 2 things layered in that. It's what's happening AI generally, and then what are we doing within AI? It's uh, it's funny because AI, it's been around. AI has been around for a decade, and we've called it different things. And now with
Mm,
Chat GPT out and all the other lookalikes, it's mainstreamed AI. It's mainstream generative AI. We actually built Grata, and I missed this in part of the founding story. We built Grata on the premise that when I actually first reconnected with Andrew after school, we were talking. I was telling him about my day job. I was telling him about private equity and consulting, and he said there are systems to automate the research you're doing. It's not easy. It's not developed right now, but that's what I'm working on. And at the time, people use the term NLP, natural language processing. That's taking text and processing it the way that we speak and the way that we read, just like you see in a Chat GPT. Machine learning. These terms were used more often. Now everyone uses AI, and the technologies were being built and they were being
mhm,
developed. And we actually built Grata on that pillar of, instead of having 100 or 1,000 researchers in order to deliver this information and these workflow tools, let's build it on technology and automation. So we built it on that
mhm,
premise, and we've integrated that primarily where we sit, which is in deal origination and early market research around company
mhm,
identification. How do you know if a company truly meets your criteria? Like, they can say a keyword, that's not enough. Right? You could say, we don't do commercial HVAC. How do you know that it just hitting for the keyword commercial is right? There are like nuances to the way language is written, the way it's processed, that we've built into our systems. And that really solves these deal origination problems around company identification, also data extraction, taking a body of text that's written in 1,000 different ways and knowing the data points to pull out and standardizing those on the profile. You see the magic of here's a number in a box, but that number has come from multiple sources, validated multiple ways, and it was actually pretty hard to extract. And that's how we do it. And I would say that is probably the latest technology that's happening in deal origination. It's how do I search better? How do I find look-alike and similar companies more effectively? The other part that I actually see more like parallel innovation happening, and this is not the space we're in right now, but it's around marketing material creation, specifically SIM creation or SIP, as you may call it, uh, which is really linked to diligence. It's how do you create the set of 20 or 30 different pages and views that you're putting into a deck. And where we see that help is specifically the synthesis and summary of large bodies of information. Let's say, for example, you want to summarize the sales go to market motion of your client, the deal you're bringing to market. It's really hard for you to read all the sales contracts, all the comp incentive plans, but with AI, you can summarize it really quickly, and then you can have a very, very quick synthesis and an accurate synthesis on the company's go to market motion. Or you can read a whole bunch of calls that a company has done, let's say sales calls that have been transcribed. And you can get a sense of what are the market headwinds, what are the market tailwinds. So it tends to work well when scoped to a body of documents and asked to summarize and synthesize those documents. And on the flip side, the sponsors are using those technologies to quickly synthesize the SIMs and management presentations and understand what the advisors have put in those documents, because they're very long, right? They're 70, 80, 100 pages long, and it takes a long time to read through many of them. So we've seen a lot of innovation happen in that space. There are a lot of young companies trying to play in and around it. And question is, there has not been a winner emerge in this space. So I think we will see a winner emerge, or this added to other larger companies' set of capabilities. We're even seeing some of the data room providers getting into the space because they actually house the documents to create search technologies and summarization technologies. So it'll be interesting to see how that'll play out. I think that's one of the most nascent and biggest areas of innovation right now. And then the third place of innovation with AI is actually on value creation. It happens at the advisory level when preparing a company for a transaction. It used to be all about digital. So 5, 10 years ago, go back to the HVAC example. It's, hey, do you have a website? Are you doing digital marketing? Do you have a Yelp page? Do you have a Google Maps page? Now it's more, what are you doing to automate that? How are you using AI? Are you responding to emails? Do you have a text system and have a chat bot so someone can call a service tech without needing a person, an operator in a call center to do it? So there's a lot of value creation around that conversational intelligence that's less so on document summarization that we see happening on the front lines, and especially in the lower middle market. The firms who can implement this get themselves a little bit of an edge from those who are your standard cookie cutter business that there are hundreds and thousands of. And having that edge can make you rise to the top and make you an A class asset versus a B class asset, because you have that little advantage among, again, thousands of companies that look similar to you.
Mm-hmm. Also on that last point, we're talking about, transitioning to this innovation, utilizing AI. It seems like there's a fair amount of people out there within the industry who, and like any, and maybe not just broadly, I guess, who might be resistant to it, because it's something new. It's not what they've done. What would you say to those people that, hey, you might want to really consider getting on board with this AI stuff, because it is, like you said, it's going to help, you create, new revenue opportunities, create efficiencies, help you go through a due diligence process that takes how many hours and weeks and months, and creating value for you to be able to, stand out like you had mentioned. Because I do think there's a lot of hesitation there.
Yeah, there's a lot of skepticism about it. There's hesitation to really change the way you've worked for decades. But if you don't do it, you're going to fall behind. That's the problem. If you take an M&A advisor who can generate a management presentation in a week instead of a month, that's a huge advantage. They're going to be able to bring that deal to market faster if they can sort through and get a better buyer list for their client. And their client's more likely to see the right buyers, or ones that actually they hadn't thought about and they didn't know. You're more likely to get a deal done. So it's going to happen. There's in any technology adoption, you have your curve, you have your early adopters, I think we're there right now. The question now is, how fast does the late majority move across this adoption curve? And I suspect that for AI and generative AI in particular, this will be one of the fastest adoption curves we see because the barrier to use is so low. Meaning, if you get a box and you say, type in what you're looking for in this box, we all know how to write. Literacy rates are virtually 100% in the country. And that means that anyone who can type into a search box or into a document or who can type an email can use AI. And I think that's really powerful. Whereas you've had other technologies come out that involve a lot of knowledge, learning it, getting up to speed. Even think about the .com bubble and Salesforce.com. Salesforce is a pretty complicated product to use. There's a whole sub industry on Salesforce implementation consultants and configurations. And that piece of software is powerful but complex. ChatGPT kind of mirrors Google. You go to OpenAI, go to ChatGPT, there's just a box that says, ask me anything. And I think that's going to actually reduce the barrier to entry, and tools that build on that simplicity will see higher adoption even from this late majority.
And you talk about that box that you're writing into, and the beauty about AI is it can learn, how you're asking, how you're talking, how you're looking for things, right? And so then, and you mentioned this too before, the more you can be a more intelligent searcher, whether it's for buyers, sellers, or, just about creating content, for example, you're going to just be ahead. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to save you a lot of time, but it's also, definitely going to help you to, stand out, hopefully, in this being an earlier adopter of this. Because like you said, I totally agree with what you said. It seems pretty easy, on a high level to utilize AI. So to be able to think of the ways that you can differentiate yourself by utilizing and leveraging it, becoming a better, like you said, coming to a search and being more, mindful of your thesis and how you want to go about it, thinking, instead of just HVAC companies, you got to go about it 5 different ways. I think that's great advice, to be able to differentiate yourself.
Because part of the edge to start off is, the late majority don't even have a way to find those HVAC companies. And so as Grata and other tools get even more widespread adoption, everyone's going to have that access. And you say, well, what's my edge? It's that I'm looking for municipal HVAC. I'm looking for commercial. I'm looking in the Southeast. I'm looking in the Northeast. And those nuances are what's going to make the difference. I think that, but I think the other big trend in AI is around the movement of proprietary data. Because let's just say AI, let's say everyone adopts it and everyone gets access to the wealth of information that's out there. It can harness public information. Your edge then becomes what's proprietary. And that can be what's in your head, or it could be information you have that no one else has. So let's say you're an expert advisor, you know the healthcare services space, and you've talked to 100 CEOs and 30 sponsors. You're collecting data there. You're understanding deals in the space. You're understanding dynamics about the business, financial benchmarks, tailwinds, headwinds, things that aren't out there. You've captured that. If you are recording your calls, taking your notes, putting that somewhere, you have information that others don't have. So if you can then take that information and combine it with access to the world of information, you build a little advantage. And that advantage compounds the more information you collect. And for example, at Grata, one way that we are helping our clients and our users harness that is through a deeper integration with their CRM, where a lot of this data is stored, a lot of the notes and relationship data. And by integrating those more closely, it allows the user to pull that information into Grata and run a search to say, find me these special HVAC companies that I know, or tell me what I should know about these companies based on my notes and my kind of interactions with them in the past. So I find that really powerful. And it's happened mostly in the sponsor world. A lot of private equity firms have embraced this early on, but we're seeing it now percolate to advisors. And I would say the corp dev teams are a step behind the advisors as well. But we're seeing both of them start to move in this direction. And it's natural. Buy side moves there, sell side advisors start to embrace the technologies that their counterparts and clients are using.
Yeah, I think just you try it out, you give it. Let's say I just want to try it out, and then you go through it and you do it and you learn, and it's like, wow, this is awesome. This has saved me how much time. I think it's going to be pretty quickly adopted once you find for yourself the benefits of utilizing it.
Exactly.
You guys have you're talking about AI, and you guys have this, and I wanted to ask you about this new product you have called Anna, your new AI product. So, what is Anna and all of its capabilities, and what is it all about?
Yeah, we realized that a lot of our users were researching companies by finding them in Grata. They'd read the description and see all the data, and then leave the platform. And we said, well, why are you leaving the platform? What are you doing? And our user said, well, we go read the website, we go understand the company. And a website is a large body of text. It's like a management presentation. It's like a big legal contract, right? In essence, you can structure it as a body of text, and therefore it can be summarized, it can be analyzed. And so we built Anna, and actually Anna comes from the word analyst. It's the first part of analyst, as a way of automating that desktop research you would do to understand what a company's doing. So we said, you don't need to leave Grata. You don't need to go on a website, poke around all the pages and think about what's happening. You can just query Anna, and Anna will read it for you and give you back the right information. And not just what we found on the site, but the way we process that, the way we clean the noise, all the other data we have. So you can start querying in simple ways, again, to lower that activation energy to get insights about companies and also reduce time. So you don't have 10 tabs open. That's why we built Anna. It's been really successful so far. And what's exciting is that this is the early days. I mean, probably what we're talking about here is going to be obsolete in 3 to 6 months. So any insights we provide, AI is changing. It's changing every day. It's getting better every day. So I'm really excited about not just providing an automation to desktop research, but where this can go. And everyone's talking about AI agents now, and the actual tasks you can automate in the go forward that can help you go from an idea to insight on a deck to a deal getting done.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the desktop data or research. I mean, how many? Just think about the analysts and the advisors looking and researching. That's how many hours of time that they're doing that. And if you can automate that and make that easier, I mean, you can spend your time doing a lot of other things.
Yeah, exactly. It's just you shave 5 to 10 hours off a week, and that's a whole nother day.
Yeah, that adds up quickly. Anything else that you guys are working on that you want to tell our tease that's coming up? That you guys are that's new technology or whatnot?
Yeah, we just unofficially last week launched a new module to be a new product line, and the official announcement is coming up at the end of April, early May here. It's around a market research product that helps users understand valuations, deal activity in a space. It uses our search technologies to find more accurate comps, and then new data that we've built out over the last year to get very accurate views on, again, public comps and what the trading multiples and financial benchmarks are, past deals and valuations and dynamics of growth and size at the time of the deal, as well as other market insights and market trends. So we're really excited about that because a lot of our users said, I use Grata for sourcing, origination all day, but there are these other things that I do that live outside of Grata. I would love it for it to be in one spot. And the most common thing was like 92% of our users said that they wanted deal information and this type of market level information and valuations. And we said, let's add it to Grata. So it's been a long journey and a long time coming, but we're very excited to be able to handle the next step of the process and that kind of early research, pre-diligence phase of market data and market workflows.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I just know that I'll be wanting to learn more about that because, you look at, excuse me, your point's well taken. You use Grata for sourcing. A lot of times, you're looking at going outside of that. And if you can have that all in one place, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think we all look for that information.
And the problem is, a lot of people use PitchBook or Capital IQ for this information, but it's super expensive for a lower middle market advisor to sign up for one of those platforms and end up paying $30,000 to $50,000 for using it for one or two things. And we said, let's take the one or two things or three things that you need. Let's bring it into Grata and let's just make that way more cost effective and provide a higher value proposition for that price in order to drive more value and give you, and also consolidate all your pecking around across different products in one spot. So our belief is that it's being done in different ways, but we can provide a more efficient way of doing it at a more reasonable price point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, like I said, we've been using your platform for a while now, and would echo that. The thing I like about it is it's comprehensive. You got the AI component to it, so it's ever evolving, and you're coming out with new product lines and things that are going to make our lives efficient. And I think, one thing that I gathered from today's conversation with you, Nevin, and I really appreciate your time, is just the thought, the thought leadership that you and your team bring to just the world that we're, private equity, investment banking, M&A, understanding, the things that we're all going through and coming up with a solution to help us out. And hopefully, like I said, you talked about growing revenue, creating efficiencies, handling due diligence better, and creating value for your companies, all within your platform. And I think those all speak to our audience, and they'd be like, yeah, sign me up if I can get all those things. And so I really appreciate your insights into how you as an understanding, the things that we go through and how we can, be more efficient and better ourselves, and how we go about, the process and sourcing, deals, or coming up with, the information we need for, taking a deal to market and, going through due diligence. I mean, it's just all great work. And if we can become more efficient, obviously that gives us opportunity to do other things or more deals or whatever the case may be. So I really appreciate your insights and you guys and all the work that you do to help us out with all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. I appreciate you having me on today, and hope the listeners learned a thing or two and enjoy our partnership.
Well, and if, like I said, from the things I've learned, I can 99.9% guarantee that our listeners are going to learn something from our conversation here today, and that's always the goal. So if we can send our audience to where to find more out about Grata and all the great things that you guys are doing.
Yeah, no surprise. You can check out our website. It's Grata, Grata.com. That's Grata.com for more information. And anyone on our team is always happy to have a conversation if you want to reach out over email.
And then if someone wants to try the platform or learn more about it, obviously you got a great team. They can find all that information right there and, be able to schedule a meeting with somebody.
Yeah, they'll schedule a meeting
or something.
And we'll ensure that they're in front of the right person who understands their business and their market.
Awesome. Well, great stuff, Nevin. I appreciate your time today, and looking forward to learning more about Anna and the new feature you mentioned. Definitely let us know here, and we'll be definitely interested in leveraging that as we go forward, because that financial information is not easy to find. If you got it right in your platform, that's amazing. So thank you again, Nevin. Appreciate the time today. That is all we have for today's episode of the M&A Mastermind Podcast. One thing that'll help Nevin and myself out is to like, share, and comment this episode. Forward on anybody who think could benefit from our conversation here today. You can view all of our episodes at cornerstoneia.com/podcast. And thank you for listening. Until next time, take care.